Webster defines a journey as traveling from one place to another. But in Journey to the Overland, you'll do a lot more than just travel. From the moment your character leaves his hometown, you'll begin to experience the encounters and adventures that could only take place in Journey to the Overland. Whether you're new to fantasy gaming or an old role-playing veteran, you'll feel right at home, yet uncomfortably new to the world of Overland. Far more than a board game, but not quite role-playing, Journey to the Overland combines the best elements of each. Set in a world where sorcery, magic, and might are the greatest powers, and surviving is the only law, Journey to the Overland gives you what the other games won't: a chance to tackle it all alone. With its unique encounter cards, various scenarios, and extensive use of non-playing characters, you have everything you need to enjoy hours of travels and adventures. But the only way to truly appreciate the commitment and dedication that went into this game is to grab your favorite figure, grab the dice, and start playing. Welcome to a way of gaming you will never leave, because once you begin it, there's no returning from. A journey to the Overland. Previously on Journey to the Overland. After having gotten hopelessly lost, Maverick and Zamora once more head back to the town of Dwarftown. Prior to arriving, they encounter a sunken ship, and Maverick considers restoring the ship and taking to the sea. Unable to hire a crew, however, Maverick moves on and gets word of a fox hunt being held at King's Castle. Yet Maverick is still determined to go back to Dwarftown and eventually Dwarf Haven and seek to become a dragon slayer. Yet, once again, his luck fails him as he is once again stopped from ever seeing the king by the dwarven guards and jailed. So welcome back everybody to another episode of Journey to the Overland. As you might have noticed in the recap, the last time we left, Maverick was actually jailed trying to get an audience with the King of Dwarfhaven in his quest to become a Dragon Slayer. Now, you might think that going to jail is kind of a straightforward procedure because the encounter indicated that he would have to spend 3 days in jail. But going to jail is actually very dangerous. And I'm going to show you an example of what happens when you go to jail if things go bad. So let's take a look at the rules with regards to going to jail. So right here, first of all, it indicates sometimes a character may be imprisoned or jailed. All of his possessions are held until he's released. The character then must determine how long he will be held. It says unless it's already been stated. So I think Maverick was jailed for 3 days. He then has to pay 100 in silver coin bond in order to be released, right? Unless it's already been stated that he's going to be tried. Now, it did not say that he had to go to jail and then go to trial. Now, first of all, Maverick, let's just say this, Maverick did not have 150 silver coins to pay at the time he was jailed. I kind of rectified that as fast as I could after I got off air, and I'll explain what I did. But I'm going to show you the scenario if he didn't have it. So let's assume his 3 days is up. He doesn't have the bond. So it says if he doesn't pay the bond, he spends another 5 days in jail. And then it gives some descriptions about if you're a thief, you can try to escape, right? So Maverick doesn't have thief skill, right? But then you go to a trial after that, okay? So it says, after being jailed, some characters may face a trial, right? Because it says 5 days in jail and await trial. So now I'm going to show you guys how a trial works. Because if you can't pay that bond and you get jailed, you have to go to trial. And the trials are not weighted in your favor. So the first part of the trial is day 1, and trials take 3 days. And the prosecution presents its case. So in order for the prosecution to present a case, they roll percentile dice. So let's just do that. And the black will be the 10. So in this case, the prosecution only rolled a 26. So that might not be that bad for our character. You know, I will show you if it had been something higher, that could have been very bad for them. But a 26 means, you know, they probably don't have a very strong case. But that's not the end of it. So let's just put on this pad 26 for the prosecution. And that's day 1. Now, for day 2, the defense presents its case. So players take their wisdom score, subtracted from the prosecution's final result. So in this case, Maverick's wisdom score, which I know is not that high, is, wow, his wisdom score is only 21. Okay, so he would subtract 21 from the prosecution's result. But before that, let's go back and see. All right, and so that's going to be a modifier for the verdict, whether it's plus or negative, because this can also be a negative modifier, which would be good. But this time, there's a +5 for the prosecution case. Okay, so add or subtract all modifiers to the wisdom score before subtracting it from the prosecution's final result. And what they mean by all modifiers is, sometimes when you get put on trial, you may get something that says -40 from your defense. Like say you're caught red-handed. Or say you have a witness that knows you didn't do it. You may get +20 to your defense. Or you hire a lawyer or something. So those are the modifiers that would get added or subtracted from your wisdom score. So here's an example. Sam is being tried for trespassing. The prosecution presents his case and rolls 55. Sam presents his defense the next day. He has a 40% wisdom score, but because he was caught red-handed on the mayor's property, he has to subtract 20 from his defense. And he would have been told that at the time he was arrested. Therefore, 40 minus 20 equals 20 for his final result. Sam then gets to subtract 20 from the prosecution score of 55. So in that case, the prosecution would have a net +35 to the verdict. And that's where we come to day 3. The judge delivers his verdict. The player must roll percentile dice for a verdict score. So let's do that. Oh, 77. That's definitely not good for a verdict score. Okay, because in this case, we had 5. We add 77 to that. That would be 82. Now, let me see if anything gets subtracted from the verdict. Add the number of days spent in jail and any other modifiers that apply to this score. So in this case, including the prosecutions. So Maverick would have spent 3 plus he would have spent 8 days in jail. So now that puts him almost at a 90% chance of being convicted, which is scary. But let's go on. There's another step, one more step. The character then subtracts his luck score from this total. The balance is the character's percent chance of being found guilty. The player must then roll percentile dice to see if he is found guilty or not. If the roll is higher than his percent chance, he is not guilty. If the roll is lower or equal to it, then he has been found guilty. So in this instance, Maverick's luck score, which is again something that's not very high, is, let's see here, Maverick's luck score is 43. So he would get to subtract 43 from the verdict score. Now, obviously, if this score goes negative, then you're going to automatically pass your roll. So you wouldn't have much to worry about. So in this case, there's a 47% chance Maverick would be convicted. And then we have to roll. If he rolls 47 or lower, he's convicted. If he rolls higher than that, he's acquitted. Oh, that is a 40 because this is a 0. So that would be 40, which meant he would have been convicted. He would have been found guilty. Oh, what a trial. Now, after you go on trial, you go back to jail and you await sentencing. Right? And then there's different things where if you're level 4 or higher, you can try to get a pardon. If you're not level 4 or higher, I think you're out of luck. But then after you spent another 2 days in jail, you come back and you roll to see what you get sentenced to. So in this example, Maverick was found guilty. We would roll percentile dice 2 days later. And this is what would happen. 66. So according to a 66, the judge has heard of your adventures and will accept 250 gold pieces to give you a lighter sentence. Roll again. If you do not pay this bribe, you are tortured, minus 30 from your endurance, and imprisoned for life. Right? And that shows you how harsh it is when you go to jail in the overland. So the point I'm trying to make is it is very dangerous to get thrown in jail. Right? You're almost better remaining a fugitive and outrunning the constables, outrunning the guards, or whoever than it is to submit yourself to arrest and possible jail. Normally, if you have money, there's always a chance you could get out of it, right? As long as you can keep paying money. So, for example, if Maverick had 250 gold, which I don't have, he could roll again. And say he got this result again, he could pay the 250 gold and roll again, you know, hopefully until he got something that was a better result for him. But he's basically buying his way out of prison. So the point I'm trying to make is it is very dangerous to wind up getting sent to jail and especially getting put on trial in the overland. But having shown you guys that, let's get back to Maverick. All right, so welcome back, everybody. As I was saying, when we left, Maverick was in jail. Now, I think he got sentenced to 3 days. So, and that was at the end of the 4th day. So that meant he would spend the rest of the week in jail, 5, 6, and 7. At that point, he'd have to pay a 150 silver piece fee. Now, at the time I was jailed, Maverick did not have 150 silver pieces. But one thing I remember was during his campaign, when he had hired Zamora, there was a lot of occasions when I was buying food for her, right? Which I didn't have to do because she was getting paid. That's why at one point she had like 90 gold. Now Maverick only had 30. So Maverick asked her, and she was kind enough to repay him for the food he had bought her while they were traveling together, which just barely got him up to 150 silver pieces. So we're going to go ahead and pay the 150 silver pieces. This will be day 1 of week 28. And then Maverick will be able to get out of jail. Okay, so this is the entry I made for Maverick. With the help of my friend Zamora, I was able to pay my 150 silver piece bond and get released from jail. My belongings have been returned, but I am once again low on food and money. Without Zamora, traveling will be much more dangerous, but I now know the dwarves will never allow me into their order, and I must seek my fate elsewhere. So, he's pretty much resigning himself now that he will not be allowed to become a dragon slayer. And so it really doesn't do him any good to continue to hang around Dwarf Haven in Dwarftown. I mean, once he's been beat up by the guards, and then this time he was jailed and very close to being put on trial. He only has 4 food left. He has no gold. His broadsword was returned, but he had to sell the dagger to come up with enough money to make sure he could get out of jail. So we are now in week 28, day 1. Let me get the cards for this week and today. So this was last week, that while he was jailed, the revolt. So I'm going to put that at the bottom. Let's see what we got for this week. So there's a fair going on. This might be interesting. A large fair is underway in Overland. Anyone who goes to the King's Castle, wow, will be given free food and lodging this week. Oh, that'll help. Positions are also available for minstrels. I'm not a minstrel. And merchants. And I'm not a merchant. But yeah, the free food and lodging would help. And I'm not sure if I can get to King's Castle before the week is out. If I go here, that's like 1 day, 2 days, 3 days. So I would enter it on the 4th day, which basically that would still give me 3 days of free food and lodging. And, you know, hopefully maybe I would have found something by then. Let's check the weather. So I'm going to get rid of 2 weather cards because those are the 2 that would have been drawn while he was in jail. And this would be today's weather card. A lunar eclipse. No travel is allowed unless you have a lantern. He already sold his lantern, which that sucks. So, and it says even with the lantern, there's a 60% chance of becoming lost. So now that's going to present a problem because I don't have enough money to pay for lodging to stay in town. And if I can't travel, I have to roll to see whether or not I get robbed. And really, the only thing they could rob from me would be my broadsword. I mean, literally, that's the only thing I have left. I got to see if there is any way I can have anything to sell. Maybe I forgot something. Oh, do I still have my mountain rope? I have my mountain rope. 81% mountain rope. How much did I pay for that? I think that was only 13 silver, though. I don't think that's going to be enough to pay for lodging. Because I really don't want to sell my broadsword. I mean, it's the only good weapon I have to protect myself while I'm traveling. So the mountain rope is 13 silver, which means I'd get six silver pieces for that. But it's 10 silver pieces to pay for lodging. So that wouldn't be enough to pay for lodging. I've got 4 units of food, which in this book, a meal for one for 3 days is 9 silver. So I would get 4.5 silver for that, and I'd get 6.5 for the mountain rope. That would be enough. I can pay for my lodging. Okay, with the lodging paid for, that's going to allow us to go to another day. Let's see what the weather's going to be like today. Oh, volcano eruption. Characters in mountain terrain receive 15 wounds. Wow. Wow. But see, I'm considered inside. I'm in the town. So I wouldn't take the 15 wounds. But if I travel, I would. Oh, that's horrible. Because I cannot stay in town. And I would have to leave, go outside in the middle of a tornado, a volcano, and suffer 15 wounds before I even get out the door. Which means if I go into any combat, I'm already going to be hurting. So I might have to sell my broadsword. Oh my goodness. I don't even know if I sell it whether I'd have enough to buy a short sword. And this is going from bad to worse. I mean, I was right there on the door of actually being something. You know, I could have been somebody. But I'm telling you, I've just got a bad feeling that Maverick's gonna take a turn on the dark side. If stuff like this continues, he's gonna actually wind up taking a turn to the dark side. And he may just wind up waylaying people on the road. Just attacking them regardless of whether they attack him or not. And dealing with the consequences later. Alright, the broadsword is 50 gold. I would get 25 gold for that. I could buy a short sword for 20 gold. I would then have 5 gold left over, or 15 silver pieces. So it'd be barely enough to pay for one more day to sit out the volcanic eruption. Or I can just take the 15 wounds and get the heck out of town and then maybe try to rest. I have 1 silver piece left over from selling my food rations and my mountain rope. I don't really know what's to do. I don't know if one is better than another at this point. But I just don't want to give up that broadsword. The broadsword can be used in offense and defense. It does 15 wounds. The short sword, I think you go down to 8 wounds or 8 damage. Which, I mean, if you're fighting multiple characters and you're just plowing away with 8, that's horrible. Not to mention, I'm not as likely to have a chance of being able to buy another broadsword anytime soon at 50 gold. So, yeah, I think I'm going to take the 15 wounds, but I got to get out of here. Whether I'm in the mountains or not, I got to get out of here. Let me make sure this doesn't say that I can't travel. See, if we were in the Forest of Hills, we just have to -1. Open land, you can't ride any mounts. Desert hexes, you have to eat more food. So this volcano just causes havoc throughout the land, but the mountain terrain gets it the worst. And I'm dead in the mountains. I'm just going to take the 15 wounds. Okay, so Maverick now has 22 wounds. He had 7. So that gives him an effective endurance of 76, which is definitely not good. But I can get out of here. I am going to be traveling, but because I'm entering a town, I don't have to check for getting lost for the first hex. When I'm exiting the town, I just have to check for getting lost going from mountains to open land. So let's see what that is. I think that's like 40% or something pretty low. I will check for an encounter when I enter that terrain, though. You don't check for an encounter. Well, actually, you do check for an encounter when you enter in a town, but it's based on. I think it's based on the terrain that the town is located in, which Dwarf Town is mountains. So I can roll for that. I think that's 45% chance. Yeah, so. Alright, so let's just check here for getting lost. So if you're going from the mountains into open land, there's only a 10% chance. I mean, it's kind of hard to get lost coming out the mountains. But let's check for that encounter, because I should have checked as I tried to enter Dwarf Town. 45% chance, I rolled a 73, so there's no encounter. Check 10% chance of getting lost. I'm not lost, although that was close. I rolled a 37. So that means I can go here, and I'm now out there in the open land. I don't have any food left either. And I could go hunting, but then I might get wounded, and the chance of me catching anything is not good. So, oh my goodness. I've got to make it to King's Castle. So I don't know. I don't think I'm going to be able to eat tonight either. Oh my goodness. What I wouldn't give for a high agility and high luck and wisdom scores right now. You know, because when I wrote the character, he had excellent ability and endurance scores, but man, that not being able to hunt well is really killing me. I should have tried to get ranger skill instead of fighter.
because the ranger skill helps you with hunting. But, oh my goodness, I'm already wounded. I'm just going to have to take the wounds. I'll take the wounds and see, but I don't want to risk hunting because there's almost no chance of me catching anything. So really, I just might as well roll right now to see if I get wounded, which is actually a higher % chance of that. Although, I don't know, what is my endurance now? I mean, my ability, because I think it's you subtract your ability score from 100. So my ability score is 90. So, well, I think that's 90. Yeah, because I got 10 permanently. Then I get 10 when I use a broadsword. So it went up to 90. So it's only a 10% chance of getting wounded. All right, I'll try to hunt. Maybe if I get something large, I'll have a chance of killing it. So let's do a hunting action. We're going to have to see what we hunt. And that's on the hunting table. So we will roll that. 88. That actually might help me. A bear. So his agility is only 40%. Well, let me roll this. If it's less than 10, then I'll check. If not, 98. So there's no way I was catching him. Or 80 at 89. So there's no way. I think I would only had a 10% chance. So I checked for getting wounded. I'm not wounded. So, yep, nothing happened. I tried to corner a bear, which actually would have been a good result because he has one of the lowest agilities. But let's go to another day. Okay, so I'm pulling these weather cards right here while you're with me. Earthquake. Oh my lord, this is my favorite, isn't it? The earthquake. And I still haven't taken them extra cards out of this deck. This is driving me crazy. An agility check, they received 20 wounds. Oh my god. Oh my lord. Oh my lord. I can't believe this. This is going crazy. It's like the weather's trying to kill my character. Just the weather. And I'm talking about being stuck here for 3 days with no food. Oh my goodness. What is his agility? He never passes these things. It's 51. Oh, so I got a 50% chance. Oh my goodness. I can't lose. I can't fail this roll. I have 24 wounds. Oh my goodness. I am literally going to close my eyes. You guys tell me what I rolled. The black die is the 10 die. Or should I make the white die the 10 die this time? Yeah, this is scary. Because that black die has been rolling pretty high. Alright, so I'm going to make the white die my 10 die. Eyes closed. I need 51 or less. Yes! I rolled 22. So I passed my agility check. So I am not wounded. I mean, I am not damaged by the earthquake. And I am not stuck in my hex. Let's travel. We're going to use the white die as the 10 die again. There's a 75% chance. We do have an encounter. Let's see who we meet. Oh, this is interesting. The Virgin Queen. I haven't seen her in a while. How many hexes away is she? 3. Says if you're a female encounter, this character ends. If you are a male character and your presence score is lower than the Virgin Queen score, she will lure you to her hex. What is her presence score? 88? Mine is only 63. Holy cow. Wow. When you reach her hex, she will compel you to spend the next 3 days and nights with her. At the end of those nights, roll to see if she is pregnant. So you must take her with you until she has the child. Wow. Your score's presence is higher than hers. You may end this encounter or go to her hex anyway and spend the 3 days. So I'm literally required to go to her hex, which is 3 hexes away. So I don't even know where that's at. I got to roll to see where her hex is at now. Or, yeah, I don't know. I don't know where it's at. So let's roll for the direction. Oh, Lord, this is getting weird. This has got to be the weirdest game I've ever played. Because this is really getting weird. So here's the random direction table. I don't want to go back into the mountains. 8. So that's southwest. So if he's here, that would be 1, 2, or 1. Well, this is south, so southwest would be 1, 2, 3. She's somewhere over in here, which I have to get over there. And the question is, though, I might wind up getting lost before I even get to her hex. Well, this is just going from bad to worse. It's going from bad to worse. So that's southwest. Yeah, south would be this way. Or I could go south as in 1, 2, 3. But either way, it's going to be 1, 2, 3 or 1, 2, 3. So it's one of those two hexes, depending on, you know, which way you start. Because west is straight that way. So, oh man, I already rode from my encounter. I don't even have any mountain rope. I might wind up dead in the mountains, just trying to get to this wicked virgin queen woman. Well, I know I can move 1. Now, I don't know if I have to check for getting lost as part of this encounter card. Let me look that up. Alright, so there's no exception for checking for getting lost because of an encounter. So the percent chance of getting lost entering from open land into the mountains, I know it's like 70 or 80%. So I'm probably going to get lost. The worst part about that is I'm not going to be able to do anything but head to her hex until I come from under, basically she's got me under some kind of spell or something. So until I get there to that hex, even if I get lost, I just have to keep making my way there, which is crazy. That's like become my new encounter. So getting lost going from open land into mountains is 65%. So the black will be the 10. Oh, I rolled a 99. What do you want to believe? So I don't even get lost. Wow. Wow. Right when I needed to get lost so I could get away from this crazy broad or woman. Now I have to go there anyway. But that's actually probably the best for me. So I do enter into the mountains without getting lost. I have to check because I don't have mountain ropes now to see about taking damage from falling in terrain, because I'm now in the mountains. I don't even know if you can hunt in the mountains. I mean, I haven't eaten in 3 or 4 days. So you only travel 1 hex per day in mountains. There's an 80% chance each day of travel that a character will fall and receive 1d10 in wounds. Well, I'm not checking that till tomorrow, because I technically I've been traveling in open land. Hunting is not allowed. -10 from ability scores for combat except for dwarves. So, yeah. I don't have any food, so I guess there's no sense in taking a break to have the daily meal. I'm going to have to take my daily wounds. So now I'm at 26 wounds. Well, let me put this in my log. Okay, so this is how I journaled that. I finally set out for King's Castle where a fair is underway. However, I have suddenly been compelled by visions of a beautiful lady to travel to her location. I cannot resist these urges and have turned away and am now heading back into the mountains. And so that's the state of Maverick. He doesn't even know why, but he cannot resist heading to this hex here, where the Virgin Queen has basically compelled him to come. So let's see what's going to happen when we get the next weather card. So this is our day 4 weather card. Mud puddles. There's some effect on combat. As far as falling. All others -1 from movement rate. I think that says if traveling in heels, which he's not in any heels. So that won't apply to him. And I do have to make a note at the end of this game to curate my deck, because I've got way too many weather cards. If you remember a while back, I combined two decks of weather cards. I just forgot to take some of the inclement weather cards out because the deck is weighted proportionally, so it should not have that many earthquakes and volcanoes and all that coming up over and over again. So you wouldn't have to deal with that in your games. I've tried to compensate for that by not shuffling the deck as much, but for some reason they just keep coming up. So I do need to go through and see how many are in there. And just for your reference, these are heals. These little nodules here, if you're moving through there, you end up in a hex with that. This is mountains. So Maverick won't have to -1. He does have to keep heading there. He has to check for an encounter in the mountains, which I think is 45%. So we're going to roll this with the black die being a 10. Oh, 0-4. So what do you know? He has an encounter. So let's see who he meets in the mountains, half hungry and starved, on his way to the Virgin Queen. Maybe it's somebody that can help him. Holy cow, a wraith. You are attacked by a hooded wraith. However, he has no weapon. Instead, in combat, along with your attack check, oh my goodness, my agility is horrible. Make an agility check. If you fail, the wraith has touched you, doing -10 damage directly to your endurance, and -3 from your weapon's normal damage rating permanently. Oh my goodness. If your weapon's damage reaches 0, you must spend a round changing weapons or begin fist fighting. Any magical attack or weapon does double damage to this wraith. Any wounds caused by this wraith cannot be healed by resting. Oh my goodness, this is devastating. So I basically have to attack this wraith, and if he touches me, I'm going to take mortal wounds. Alright, let's just fight it. Okay. Because this is such a pivotal combat for my character Maverick, I've decided to set this up on what's called the optional combat facing rules. And one of the good things for me about setting it up like this is, since this wraith really has no attacks, he's just going to be, basically I'm trying to dodge him as I attack him. I don't think I'm going to suffer as much from him outflanking me or outmaneuvering me than he will from me outmaneuvering him. So the optional combat facing rules, and this is just a template I created. Really, you can do this on any hex sheet, including the actual map. But I'd like to do this just to kind of enhance the gameplay. So what it says is, all characters and NPCs begin combat facing each other from adjacent hexes. So we have that. Players then move each figure around their opponent in combat using some, all, or none of their total movement rate. So all human beings can move 2. If I was on a horse, right, I could move, I think it's 3. Right, so you could outmaneuver him better. It says, but not more than 3 hexes. So even if you're on like a winged creature, you couldn't move 5 or something. It says, into adjacent hexes around their opponents to establish a desired facing position. The opponent then may pivot either to his left or right, and pivot just means to turn left or to turn right. Okay? Or all the way around, or he can just go all the way around. So he can do either or in a turn, if possible, to counter his opponent's position. However, the pivoting character can only pivot a number of hex sites equal to his movement rate. So that meant he could only pivot 2 hexes, since he can only move 2. If he was on a horse, he could go all the way around, because that would be 3 pivots. So you could do 1 pivot here, 2 pivots there. If you were on a horse, you could do the 3rd. So that's why it says there is an option to go all the way around instead of just left or right. But you might not be able to make it all the way around, and that's important. So then they give an example here. In combat, they alternate between one character moving around his opponent and the other pivoting. The character who is allowed to strike first will also move in the first round of combat. In the second round, he will pivot, and his opponent will move around him. And then this happens again. Now, what happens is, depending on where you end up at after you use this optional facing rule, because the page is kind of long, you get a bonus to your attack, right? So if you in the MP, and this is what you roll to see which way the NPC is going to turn, right? So you have to check that when you're using an NPC. But during the facing rules, if you're up facing his front, there's no modifier. If you get to his right or left side, you do -5 additional damage, and he minuses 5 from his strike. If you're facing his back, you do -10 additional damage, and he minuses 10 from his strike. In this case, because I'm using my agility as his strike, I'm going to give myself a bonus of +5 or +10 against his strikes if I get to either of those sides of him. Okay? And then there's some other rules here. And I actually have in my errata, there's a diagram that will show you when you're facing somebody's side or left. I mean, mostly you should be able to tell, but just in case you don't want to guess, you know, maybe you're playing with a group or somebody you're GMing. If you download the errata, there's just this little facing diagram here, which if you can make that out, which will say, okay, this is their front, this is their back, or this is their left side. And I know that's hard to read, but that's all we have for right now. I probably will try to do that later in the future. But we're going to use those rules for this combat, because I need to take him out as quickly as possible. Okay, so Maverick is a fighter. So I don't know if he gets to strike first in combat or not. It doesn't say he does. It doesn't say that I'm surprised either. So let's see what his agility is. His agility is only 23, so I will get to strike first. So for the first round of combat, my normal ability is 90. If I'm using a sword, I get 10. So that would almost put me at 100. So I'd only have a 1% chance of missing. I do -5 damage when fighting with a sword. So instead of -15, it would be -20. And I can strike him twice in one round of combat. Right? So the first thing I'm going to do with Maverick is try to get to his side. 1, 2. Right? So this counts as his rear side. This is his rear. This is his rear side. This is his left or right side. This is his front. Okay? So all of this is considered his front, these three. This is his side, side, and rear, just to make it simple for you. So right now, I'm in his side, basically his right side to his rear. So I will go to the thing and we will roll to see what he does, or how he responds to me moving over there on the optional combat table. And that is the table I showed you earlier. So this is the table. We roll. I got a 37. So a 37 means the NPC faces you frontward. So he will try to turn to face me frontward. He can move up to 2, 1, 2. And so we're still forward. I didn't get behind him. So I'll make my attack. 1% chance of missing. He has nothing that says it subtracts from my attack. Oh, we are in the mountains. So I have to -10. Everybody minuses 10 from combat in the mountains. Which that won't affect the Wraith though. So instead of 100%, I'll have a 90% chance again. So that's 20 thing that hits. My second strike, 90%. Oh, holy cow. I rolled a 99. Holy cow. Huh. So only one of the strikes hit. But that does 20 damage. The Wraith is endurance. His endurance is 81. So we have 81 minus 20. That puts him down to 61. Man, I needed that other attack. I really needed that damage. Alright, so I have to make an agility check now. Because I'm not to his side or anything, I can't give myself any bonus. I don't even know if you minus from your agility in mountains in combat, or is it just your ability? Crap. Yeah, I almost forgot that we were in the mountains. So everybody except for Doors takes a -10 when in mountains. Now, I don't know, as a fighter though, I'm wondering if I have to take terrain modifiers. Because I know there's some modifiers that fighters don't apply to them. So let me double check that. Because if not, that 99, I think that would have hit. 1 second. Yep, so it says I do not suffer modifier for wounds, terrain, or weather effects. So that will hit. Because if I had rolled 0-0, which would have been 100, then that would have failed. Because you only ever have a 99% chance of hitting, even with modifiers. But I rolled 99. Where's the other 0 in here? All that. I rolled 99, so that would do another 20 points of damage, which would put the rate at 41, which is huge. So now I have to make an agility check. Because he's a wraith, it says, instead of his attack, make an agility check. If you fail, the wraith has touched you and done -10 damage directly to your endurance. That means even if you're wearing armor, it gets done to your endurance. It can't be subtracted by your armor. Right? And then these wounds become permanent. I can't heal these by resting. I'm going to need some kind of healing potion. And then it also damages my weapon, and it causes my weapon to suffer a -3 from its damage every time he makes a success. So this is huge. My agility is 51. So should I use the black or the white? I'm going to use the white as the 10 die, because that's been better for me. Yes, 30. So he missed me. So we go to the next round. Now, this is what happens in the next round when you're using this table. Because we're facing each other, he now gets to move around me, right? Because it's kind of this shifting thing when it's just one-on-one. If you're outnumbered, you don't switch it up. But now he gets to move around me. So I'm going to roll to see which way he will move. Because I struck first last time. But because we're doing the movement, he gets to do his movement before well, I don't know. Do I get to move first or does he get to strike first? Let me check that. Because I may get my strike off before he starts his movement. Which it might be significant if I kill him. He'd never get a chance to move into position. Because his movement's going to affect how he... Well, no, I guess we got to do the movement first. Because it's going to affect not only what his attack is, but it's going to affect... I guess what my attack is whether I'm facing him or striking him from behind. And now that's one thing the fighter skill does not negate is movement modifiers. Just terrain, wounds, and weather. So modifiers based on, where I'm attacking from or where you're being attacked from would still apply. Where's my weapons table? Okay. It's here. So I think normally they move around first and then you do your attacks. Okay. Said players then roll for the result of their attack and apply damage. So we do the movement first. So let's roll to see which way he's going to go. I'm going to use the black for him. 28. So that means he's just going to face me forward. Right? Instead of trying to get around me. Oh, wait. There's another. Is there? Oh, there's a different one. It says, if, however, NPC characters outnumber a player character, the following process should be followed. The NPC moves first as determined by a separate roll on the RNF table for each NPC. However, the results are applied differently. So it says right here, on a roll of 0, 1 through 50, we're looking at the top one, the NPC will move toward your character's front. So that's what he did. He's already there. I will do my attacks now. I got 2. Because I'm not going to pivot. I'm going to stay where I'm at. Because otherwise, I could have pivoted in this hex, but I'm not going to pivot and get a guy in my back. So my first attack, again, is at, what, 100? I have no modifier. So long as I don't roll double zeros, which I didn't, that hits for 20, and that hits for 20, because I was using the black. So that is another 40 wounds I do to him, right? Which would leave him with 1 wound, and he would normally fall unconscious. Being a wraith, however, I'm going to assume wraiths don't fall unconscious. So I will make my roll for this agility, and I need a 51 or less. The white one will be my agility. Will be my 10 die. Oh, I should have chose the black one. I rolled a 62. So I do take 10 wounds. Oh my goodness. And I'm going to have to put them in a special place from this fight with the Wraith. So that gives me a total of 36 wounds, 10 of which cannot be healed by resting. And my damage from my broadsword now goes from -15 to -12 permanently. It's almost like he touches your blade and it just corrodes a bit. But he's only got 1 wound left. And now in this round, it's actually my turn to pivot around him, which I don't really even need to pivot. So I'm just going to do my attack. I will roll to see if he pivots. So he faces me forward. And now I will do my first attack. Long as I don't roll double zeros, I should be okay. 91, that was still hit. And that does, well, it won't do 20 no more. I think it's 12 plus 5 is 17. But boom, he disappears. So I defeated the Wraith. So having defeated the Wraith, I'm free to move. I can move 1. And that will get me in this hex here. At which point the Virgin Queen appears. And so there he is. Maverick has arrived to this mysterious Virgin Queen. And this is where he's going to be for the next 3 days. At least he should be able to get food. So that's a benefit. Food and lodging, wherever she lives at. But I think I'm going to call it a session for this game. Like I said earlier, things have gotten real weird for Maverick. Stay tuned. My name is Maverick. I'm from the town of Milesdale, and I live in the Overland. The Overland is a dangerous place. You never know what you will run into, and you never know what you will find. When at all possible, never ever travel alone. And when all else fails, it's better to run and live to fight another day. And in the end, if you have faith, hope will light your way.